All right, peace and love, family. Today we have a special guest, my brother Michael Law, somebody that has been not only a business partner of mine, not only a great friend of mine, but a mentor of mine as well. Somebody who I've been able to learn a lot from and who I learn a lot from every single day. And that's what I believe when it comes to partnerships that you got to really, or just people around you, that you got to surround yourself with. There's people that you guys can grow, from having them around you guys. So super grateful for Michael, for you being here, brother. Let's go ahead and do a quick introduction. I'm going to go ahead and pass over the mic, let them know who you are, take over the floor, and then we'll get into what we're all here for today.
Absolutely. Can you hear me good too on my end?
Yeah, sound amazing.
Perfect. What's going on, everybody? If you guys don't know me, my name is Michael Law. I've spent the last decade in entrepreneurship, really in the coaching space. I spent the last decade studying the science of habits in correlation to success and passing that on to over 20,000 entrepreneurs nationwide. That's what I've been doing the last 6 years for coaching. And in the last 8 years, I've been doing real estate more behind the scenes. Coaching was my primary venture. It was the face of what I was doing. And I was doing fix and flips and single family stuff for the last 8 years. And recently, over the last 4 years, been picking up a lot of interest in the multifamily space, which I decided to pick up a huge pivot in 2025 and pursue multifamily full time now. So with that being said, Tone and I actually came together. We launched a fund together. And what we actually do is we launch single asset funds and we educate investors, aspiring entrepreneurs, everyday people, athletes, how to invest with us in this fund so we could go out there and create passive income through multifamily. So that's a quick little introduction about myself. You guys will get to know me a lot more as I hop on these lives. Tone and I plan on, doing these lives probably once a week. So you guys will get to know a little bit more about me, and hopefully I get to, know you guys in the audience as well.
Yes, they'll definitely be very familiar with you as we're looking to set out to do these calls every Friday at this exact same time. So I'm going to create a banner, I'm going to create a flyer and everything to be able to promote so that you guys know where to go. It's going to be the same location, the same time every single week, especially to end out this year. Going forward into 2026, we're going to have a new calendar that we're going to be able to put together for you guys, especially those that are part of our community. We've been putting together, we just put together today a school, and we've just been integrating and getting the community aspect really up to par to be able to take on all of the individuals that we know are going to be coming into the community that we're building and bringing together. Y'all have seen Wibes University and the things that we've been able to build with Wibes University. We've been able to have over 84 active students within Wibes University, and that's been since 2021. Right now, actively, we have 84. But since 2021, we've had hundreds of students come in and out of Wibes University, be able to come in and get the information that they need in terms of discharging anything off their consumer report, getting the information to starting up a business, building out business credit to where now we've helped discharge over $1 million. We've helped fund over $2 million. And in terms of businesses, with those businesses, we've helped them get funding over $2 million. And then on the personal credit side, we've helped discharge $1 million. So it's been a blessing just to be able to put forth that information, but now tying in the real estate information where we've had my business partner, Michael, who's had the experience, is going to change the game and really help give you guys another avenue and really position you guys in the vehicle to help you guys with all of the goals and aspirations that all of you guys have. It's all about being in the right vehicle, being surrounded around the right people, and that's what we're looking to do and create is give you guys the right information and give you guys the right connections to where with the information that you guys have, you guys can actually be able to take action and you guys can see that it's a lot more simplified than we've been taught or what we've always thought of. So we're going to dive into that a little bit today, what got us started and what got us into this space as a whole, what got us connected. Well, it's amazing because what we're doing now and with our fund, we're specifically working with athletes or former athletes. Well, me and Michael, we were both former athletes ourselves, and we played at a very high level when we did play the game as well too. I was a college athlete. Michael went on to play at the next level as well. He didn't play college ball actually. He played high school. All throughout high school, he played on the top AAU teams. Played all around the country. So we played with and against guys that are still playing to this day, whether that's here professionally or whether that's in another country professionally as well. And me personally, I've been able to travel all around the world as well. And so, with our connections in the athletic space and just with all of the travels that we've had, being able to tie them all in and help bring everybody together, ultimately to build and to create. And so, that's what it is that we're doing and really building with our fund. So let's dive right into it. So once again, we were both former athletes, and I know many, and I would love to see who is a former athlete. So if you
Hey,
guys,
Tone,
yeah,
I'm over here smiling and laughing because I something popped up into my head to correlate the two. Before we dive in, I want to correlate credit and then what you were just talking about with sports because it's funny and it ties in. Um, you don't necessarily need credit to do real estate. See, a lot of people might think that. And a lot of people might think, to get into real estate, they need good credit. But I'll tell you right now, you don't necessarily even need to ever use your credit in real estate. However, the better your credit is, the better you do look to all the lenders when it does come time that you actually need to pull these loans from the bank. We're going to talk about two deals as we get into these deals. And one of the deals was 39.5 million that we just we're closing on at the end of this month in North Carolina. And the other deal was $24 million in Arizona. And yes, we raised, half of the capital privately. And then the other half we had to go to the bank, and get that loan. And so the bank's not going to approve me for 15-20 million dollars at all, because either one, I don't have the assets in my name, or two, I don't have the credit or the proof or anything there. So that's why we find strategic partners that have all of these accolades for the bank, so that way they could sign off as the sponsor on the loan. And so that's important, and I relate that to sports, because you said with AAU, when I was playing basketball, when I was playing AAU, the only thing that prevented me from going on to that next level was the grades, right? And I correlate the grades to the credit. I didn't have the grades, so therefore I wasn't getting approved. I got offers. I had plenty of offers, but when it came to actual decision day, wasn't able to actually commit just because of the grades. And those grades act as in our business world is like the credit. And so even though some of us might lack, in the school side of things and in the grades, because we feel like, business and entrepreneurship might be more important, it is still very important to, bring that credit up and make sure that that's theirs. You might not need it all the time, but it's definitely going to be a bonus for those that do have it.
and see, and that's just what it is as well. Is there's tons of superstars out there. There's tons of all stars out there, and I didn't seen it as well in that sense of where so many people have gone the route of not being able to go and play at the next level, maybe because of grades, because of the people around them, because of certain situations that may have taken place, injuries. Or I hadn't seen it all as but and that's all of you guys as well coming here with them from you guys may be superstars, or you guys are all superstars. I'm telling you guys right now, in the real estate space, you guys just don't know it because you guys don't have the right team and the right people around you guys and the information. And so that's really what we're going to do and be able to provide and bridge. And that's what I'm looking to do every single Friday. So we're not just going to come here every Friday and be talking about who it is that we are and what's our vision. Right? That's all amazing. But at the same time, you guys need the information to be able to help you guys get to your guys' goals and to where you guys are looking to get in this space as well. And so every Friday, we're going to provide tools, resources, and information for all of you guys to take action. And so that's just what it was. Like, we played in packed stadiums. We played all across the nation in the top tournaments. I've played in nationals. I've played for nationally ranked teams, etc. But at the same time, we were never taught finances. Our coaches never taught us finances. When we played the sport, how many of you guys can relate? That's all I knew myself of as was simply just an athlete. Or I didn't know the difference between even single family or multifamily. How many of you guys can relate? How many of you guys did not know the difference when you guys were playing sports between single family and multifamily? See, that was me. I wasn't aware of different things such as cash flow, right? The monthly cash flow, the monthly income that I can be creating from things like real estate. And let's talk about the difference between single family and multifamily. Well, cash flow with single family is one door. When I had came into this space, I'm grateful to have heard from individuals like Grant Cardone, right? He's one of the first individuals who got me this information in this space, and he had talked about cash flow. And the thing about it with multifamily is there's multiple doors. So the difference from multifamily and single family is with single family, there's that one door. Now with multifamily, we've got multiple doors. So the cash flow is multiple. It's more than just that one door. Then we've got the long-term approach. One second. Brother, B, B, I'm on live right now. Can you do your call over there, brother? B, thank you.
Hey, good thing is we can't hear him.
Yeah, I can, and it's hard to think
I know.
when
Yeah.
it's family. And so the thing is, so we've got monthly cash flow, we've got long-term growth, which is appreciation, and the difference between single family and multifamily. The appreciation of multifamily is a lot bigger multiplier than on the single family side. We've got the cost segregation, the tax breaks, especially being in the athlete space and being around it. My best friend, you guys see and have seen me over the past couple of years at all of these Eagles games and around these guys, and I see that the information in terms of helping them be able to not only make the money but keep the money and multiply it. Right, keeping and multiplying, that's what we're really going to focus on here, because a lot of you guys know how to make it, but a lot of you guys don't know how to keep or multiply it. So that's what we're really looking to focus on with our fund, is keeping and multiplying the wealth. Making it is the simple part. Being able to keep it and multiply it, that's the game changer. And that's where different things like legal tax breaks. We're going to talk about things like a 1031 exchange. What is a 1031 exchange? How can a 1031 exchange help these athletes or individuals that are business owners like you, or maybe individuals that are looking just to invest like you as well? And so ultimately, I want you guys to understand that this information, it's been taught to have been a lot bigger than we've been taught, but I promise you guys we're going to put it in simple terms to where whether you guys are just learning about real estate, you guys are going to have the belief, and that's the biggest thing, is the belief to be able to go out and do your guys' own deals as well too. Once you guys get the belief and once you guys get the knowledge, then therefore I believe the confidence will come, and with the confidence will come the belief, and with the belief will come the action, and you guys going out and doing deals. And so that's what we're looking to provide here every single Friday, and ultimately with our fund as well too. So I want to talk about a couple pillars, in terms, and to give you guys insight on our vision and what it is that we're looking to go out and do in the community. So the name of our company, our fund, is Multifamily Locker Room. And locker, it has pillars. Each letter within the word locker has its own pillar. So with L, we've got legacy over lifestyle. We invest for decades, not days. Every move that we make builds something that outlasts the game. The name of the game is longevity, right? Legacy is the new trophy, right? Not lifestyle, legacy. Legacy over lifestyle. Then we got O for ownership over optics. Forget flexing. All right. We don't care about materialistic things. We value equity over image. Don't flex what depreciates, build what appreciates. Then we've got cash flow over contracts. Game checks, I've seen it. It comes to an end.
Yeah.
Cash flow, it doesn't. So when we talk about building a legacy, when we talk about building something that's going to outlast us, I believe the thing that faults many of these individuals when they do get to the league is they stop dreaming. Right? They dream of going to the league and getting drafted to the NFL, but once that dream came to reality, it's like they forgot how to dream. But that's what got them there to that moment. Well, if we can continue dreaming and dream even bigger and think of things that we can leave hundreds of years down the road for our family to keep within our family lineage, well, that's a legacy, and that's what we're looking to do. And with what comes at is the knowledge. That's what's going to lead us into the next thing. Knowledge builds empire. Education is the first step to elevation. Right? What you know sustains what you grow. Then we've got E for equity, empowers legacy. You can't pass down income, but you can pass down ownership. True wealth is built on equity. Then we've got R for relationships, raise returns. Your network is your net worth, but your locker room is your guys' legacy. We don't do this alone. I promise you guys. We win together, right? We win as one. right? As a collective, we trade lifestyle for legacy, optics for ownership, and contracts for cash flow. We study the game of wealth like we've studied the game of football, of basketball, of baseball, whatever sport that you guys have been playing throughout the years. We study the game of wealth just as such. We're watching the film. Right? We're breaking down tendencies. We're breaking down formations, different trends, right? Different cycles, that we see to give us that edge because we're aware that there's other players in this space as well. But we're not focused on other players because we are in the film room. We're taking care of what we need to take care of, and we're studying those individuals and seeing what they do well, and we're adding, bits and pieces and putting our own twist on it, and just maneuvering, watching that film, hitting that whiteboard, and going out and practicing. Right, we study the game of wealth like we studied the game of the sport. We build equity, we protect our name, and we invest with discipline. This is the locker room where athletes become owners. We're bridging elite performance with elite investing. And so ultimately, that's what we're looking to do. That's really our vision, is to tie in. And really, I've always thought to myself whenever I've been in the business space or even in life, where is there a need? Well, I've been around this my whole life playing sports. And I've noticed that within this space, a lot of these trainers are just one lane, right? They can only go in this one lane, right? They're not multiverse. They're not teaching these students anything about life. They're not teaching these students, and these students are these athletes, right? Students of life. They're not teaching them about finances. They're not teaching them about investing. They're not teaching them about owning a business, setting up trusts. They're not teaching them about this information. And so I've seen this. This is something that I lacked myself. This is something that I've had conversations with time and time again with many individuals and athletes that have gone out and made millions of dollars, in their sport, in their career. But after their sport and after the career, they've blown all of those millions and they've been left with nothing. They've been left with nothing and no knowledge, but they've got connections. And so this is where I come in and I can provide that knowledge. And with their connections, we can grow together and we can invest into deals such as what I would love for my brother Michael to go ahead and take over and go into, as we've just launched in July. All right. So all that I've just, given you guys a little insight into our vision and the pillars that we follow, and really what it is that ultimately we're building. Since July, we've been actively raising, and we've already been able to help raise for these two deals right here. And we're actively have these two deals under management. And I'm going to go ahead and have Michael visually show you guys these deals and then go over these deals with you guys so you guys can see the types of deals that we're investing into with our fund. And, you guys can see this is just the start and where we're headed. We'll ultimately go ahead and show them, Michael, those two deals that we just got done raising. And this is only since July. So just imagine where we'll be come this time next year.
So I'll dive into a couple things. One, I want to give three different examples of something you spoke on. You said, we talked a little bit about people getting paid a lot and then losing that money, whether they spend too much money, they know how to make it. And in life, we all know how to make money. Everyone makes money. My mom goes to work every single day for a check. She knows how to make money, right? Now, saving the money or multiplying the money is really multiplying. You never save to save. You never save for a rainy day, right? You save only to invest to multiply, right? So you save, you might have $100, right? Put $100 away. When it hits 5,000, you're investing it, right? So you never save for that rainy day. You invest, because the investments and the cash flow is what's going to actually lead to, that long-term security. And so I had a buddy. I used to live in Florida, and he had a business in Puerto Rico. And this guy was a genius. He would sit in his house, work on his laptop, make calls, make $10 million a year income. But he was unfortunately close to Miami, and he would fly to Miami all the time, or he would fly people to Puerto Rico all the time. And he would go to the clubs and he would party and he would show off and he would rent the cars and he would get the, he had the luxury house and he had all the goods and luxuries. But 2 years in a row, I got a phone call from him. Hey, Mike, do you know anybody that I could borrow, $200K from real quick? I'm like, what do you need $200K for? He's like, Well, he was getting hit with taxes. IRS was sitting him, and he owed 200K in taxes. I'm like, how do you make $10 million, but you don't got 200K in the bank? Right? It's because they know how to really all the income that comes in. And this is probably what your bank account looks like. I'd probably be 99.9% correct on this. If you opened up your bank app on your phone and you logged in, all your money is in one checking account, right? So there's going to be lessons and programs that if you're a part of the community, the multifamily locker room community, there's a banking system that shows you how to allocate all your money to go where it goes. We'll go into that maybe in another call. That'd be a good call to go over on how to allocate your finances for your business and your personal life. So that's one story. That's an entrepreneur. I have another entrepreneur, and this entrepreneur is the founder of a brand that does $2 billion a year today. They do $2 billion a year, and he's actually my biggest client. Okay. And when I say I was coaching, I would coach, I coached 20,000 entrepreneurs around the country. With that, I also had one-on-one clients, right? That were either Fortune 500 clients, they were CEOs, they were athletes. And one of these ones was the founder of a brand that does $2 billion today. However, years ago, he sold that brand to a private equity firm, and that private equity firm scaled it. No one taught him finances. He was the marketing guy behind the brand. And because no one taught him finances, he sold the company. He got tens of millions of dollars in income immediately in one day, deposited, spent all that money. And when he became my client, he was broke, right? He ran through all of that money. He was broke. Now he has all the knowledge and the skill sets to go make money, like we were talking about, but it's how do you keep it and how do you multiply it? How do you allocate it? And so these things are important. And the last one I'll talk about is one of my clients is a world champ boxer. Okay. And in his career, he did $16 million. And he's an older athlete. So he's, no longer boxing now. But in that 16 million, because I say that because athletes make $16 million in like one fight now these days. But he made $16 million in his career. And he was so generous that when his friends called or his team called, hey, can you fly me here? Hey, can you fly my family here? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you help me with this? He was so generous that he would just give, that he gave $16 million out and went broke, right? And had no assets. And I say that because in my last decade of entrepreneurship, I lost everything 3 times. Every single time I lost everything, I was in real estate, but I was doing wholesaling, which is active income, or I was doing fix and flips, which is active income. And I never kept the property and put a tenant in there for passive income. And so every time I lost something in my head, I was like, man, I wish I kept at least one in every 10 properties, right? At least one door in every 10 I kept, so that way I would have passive income. And so a big part of my pivot and a big part of why this community has launched is because I understand how important cash flow is. And I believe if you're watching this and if you're an audience of Tones, that you want to build a business, you want to build cash flow, you want to build a better dream for yourself and a better future for yourself, 100% my biggest piece of advice is find out how to have passive income, right? The income that is coming in when you're asleep, when you're traveling on vacation. You need monthly recurring revenue coming in that you're not working for, right? That you take first generation income, right? I live off of, I teach a lesson where you live off of third or beyond generation income. And what I mean by that is your first generation income might be your job, right? That's first dollar in. However, I take that dollar and I invest it into real estate. That real estate now is my second generation income. I actually have I'll tell you my process. First generation income could come in, right? That could be from your job. Then I actually take that, I accumulate it, and I go buy an insurance policy, life insurance policy. And I take a loan against my life insurance policy. That's my second generation income. And I take that and I put that in real estate. That real estate then becomes your third generation income. You turn a dollar into 2, into 3, and that 3 produces cash flow. Now you live off of the cash flow of that third generation income, right? So how powerful is it to stack your money and make your money go work for you? That's the power of real estate. So let's go ahead and dive into these two deals. These are just going to be quick examples. I'm just going to go over a couple little slides on them. But what I want to cover in them is, guys, we just started raising capital for these deals in July, right? And at the end of this month, we'll be closing out at 417 units in limited partner equity. And there's a difference. We'll go into that in another call too, what limited partner is and what general partner is. But as a fund, what we do is we raise capital as a fund and we deploy that capital into great operators, right? People that are executing these deals, the business plan on the deals, right? The acquiring the property, renovating all the units, getting tenants in there, raising the rents, and then eventually selling that property, right? And that could take a 2 to 5 years to 10 years, depending on the deal, right? And depending on the structure. So there's operating teams, which we will be operating our own properties as well as general partners. But what our fund does is we raise capital and we deploy into funds as a larger limited partner, right? To have that passive income for our investors coming in. And so while you might be on the call and not know anything about real estate, that's why Tone and I are here, is you invest your, income into our fund and we manage it. We take responsibility over it. We find the good deals. We do the underwriting. We find the operators. We find where your money's going to do best, right? We're not here to help you get rich quick. We're here to help you get rich for sure, right? And we're not here to get you a 30x crypto jump, right? We're here to get you consistent returns for 30 years, right? So you can have a 30x ROI on a meme coin, or you can have a 30-year guaranteed consistent returns because we're being, we're mitigating that risk with real estate. Let me go ahead and pull up one of these slides. We'll do Mountain Ridge here. Let me see if I hit present slides and PDFs. Let me see. Now I can't see, can you guys see the screen good? Is it showing the Rise Mountain Ridge slide?
No, I can't see it on my end.
Okay, I put share my whole entire screen. It's not. Let me see if I could put. Oh, hold on, I got it right here. Now is it showing the Mountain Ridge?
Now we live.
Perfect. It's not showing everything on my screen, right? Just the slide.
Yeah, just the slide. Rise Mountain Ridge.
Perfect. Cool. So this is Rise Mountain Ridge, guys. This is, you can see from the image, beautiful property right over here. It was a 154 unit property in Arizona. And one of the things I want to mention on this is getting into real estate. It economically makes more sense to buy 100 units or more than to buy, I would say, 70 units or more than it is to, buy below that. It economically makes more sense. And actually the banks would rather give you a loan on 154 units than give you a loan on 20 units, right? Because it economically makes more sense. And what I mean by that is, if you buy a fourplex and one tenant moves out or two tenants move out, then 50% of your income is automatically wiped and you got to take care of the mortgage. If you buy 154 units and 10 people move out, well, you got 144 people still paying down the mortgage and you're still in profit, right? So that's where it's more safe for a bank to lend you on a 154 unit than it is on a 4 unit. Let's go through a little bit of this. This is one of our sponsorship teams, by the way, or operating teams, which is Rise 48. We'll go over them in another call, but this is one of the teams that we enjoy investing with because they get beautiful properties. So this deal specifically, here's what we do with our investors. So our investors, it's a 50K minimum. So for those of you who would like to invest with us, reach out to Tone, or go to Multifamily Locker Room, and there's a button that says join our investor list or invest now, and it'll input your information to schedule a call with us too. But there's a 50K minimum. Okay. And what that'll get you, and we'll go over this probably on another call, is a 7% preferred return. So let me round that up. Let's say it was 100,000. Essentially what that's saying is you would get $7,000 a year in cash flow, right? $583 a month in cash flow is what that looks like. Then what we do is when we sell the property, we do an 85-15 split. This may change. 85-15 is where it's at now. It could be all the way up to a 70-30 split, right? So it'll fluctuate based on every deal specifically. The better the returns, we might go a 70-30 split. 85-15 split right now is what we're doing to be very generous, right? Giving our investors back a majority of the profits too. So you get your return. Then when we sell the property, we get your return of capital, right? You get your 50K back. And then anything that's above that profit, we do that 85-15 split. So that's normally what our fund looks like. Most of the deals we target, you'll see a 2x to 5x multiple, or a 1.7, I would say a 1.7x to a 5x multiple, meaning if you put in 100,000, you should be expected to get around 200,000 back by the end of the sale of that property, right? Annual cash flow, average annual cash flow, you can see it says 5.2%, but the return over here says 7%. And so if the cash flow is actually 5.2% and not 7, then what we do is when we sell the property, any year you didn't make 7, we actually make up that delta, right? So let's say this was an even 5. That means when we sell the property on year 1, if you made 5%, we would actually make sure that you got paid your 2% extra first before we even do any profit split. So you were guaranteed to get your 7% no matter what before we ever touch this split here. Annual returns, average annual returns 20%, and then internal rate of return 16%. I'll go over these definitions probably on another call. Here's a good example of what I was talking about on what these deals look like, right? This is based on a $100,000 investment. This is a example. You put in $100,000 here. Well, on year 1, you're not going to get a 7% cash flow because we just acquired the property. We're renovating. We're investing a lot of money into renovating the units. So you might be at a 3.5%, right? Or maybe on year 2, you might be at a 4% because it's increasing gradually every year. Any year you don't make 7%, when we sell that property, you can see on year 5, there's a big sale over here where you make $177,000. Well, a big part of that is we give back this delta, or we make sure we fill in this delta. So 4, you're missing 3% on year 2. Cool. Well, we're going to make sure that before we do that profit split, remember that you're going to get your 7% for year 2. So every year, eventually that we hold that property, you'll have that 7% completed. You can see the return on the sale when we sell the property, 177. So with a 2x game plan for this property, which this property specifically I like because all 154 of these units were classic, right? And the reason why we found this deal is this deal specifically was a true mom and pop owner. They owned the property for 26 years. They managed it themselves. They didn't even have a professional property management company managing the property. And so they passed away and their son was left in charge. Their son didn't want anything to do with the property. And we actually acquired the property for a 30% discount, being able to negotiate good terms and be able to acquire this property at a 30% discount with the intention to do what's called a value add, right? Which means there's 154 units. They were all classic. We're going to renovate all the units. We're going to put washers and dryers in about 30% of the units, bump up the rents, and then eventually in 2 to 5 years, at the perfect timing and best timing for our investors to maximize returns, we're going to sell the property to maybe a bigger company, right? An institutional buyer. Institutional buyers, by the way, are like BlackRock or Vanguard or like these big companies that come in and buy everything up pretty much. Let's see. Here's a good little track record just to show you guys what investing into our fund and partnering with good operators looks like. So here's the track record on 11 properties that went full cycle. Okay, so these went full cycle, meaning we purchased them and we've sold them and we've executed the business plan all in between. So I'm just going to go down here to the average, but here in the light blue, you can see projected returns. And then you can see over here in the dark blue, actual returns. So we projected an internal rate of return of 16%, or on average, let's say 15.4%. I'll go over these definitions again, probably on another call. But the actual returns was 70.5%. Okay, you can see the equity multiple that you put in, we projected a 1.9%, but the actual equity multiple that we were able to get our investors was 2.11%, right? And then the hold period, here's where it's very unique. We put in a 5-year hold, so 60 months. However, the average actual return was 17.5 months. The longest that a property was held out of these 11 was 34 months, not even 3 years. And a lot of that is due to having an in-house construction team, so being able to do things on the spot very fast. So a lot of these we weren't even held for 5 years. So imagine doubling your money every 18 months, right? Hypothetically, right? No promises or guarantees, right? We put in a 5-year hold. We just so happened the team to get it done in under 3 years on all of these deals, sometimes 18 months, a year and a half. But imagine doubling your money. You put in 100K and you turn it into 200K in 18 months, or 2 years, we'll say. And then 2 years from there, you keep that 200K in what Tone said earlier, a 1031 exchange, which means rather than taking that 200K profit, you just keep it with us and we roll it over into the next property and we double that in 2 years. Now you're at 400K, right? And then instead of taking your 400K in 4 years, you leave it with us, 1031 exchange it, and we double that, and now it's at 800K, right? And so in 10 years, you got $1 million. You turned 100K into $1 million, and every single time we reinvest a 1031 exchange, doubling your money, your monthly cash flow is also increasing, right? Because you're earning 7% on 100K, then by year 10, you're earning 7% on $1 million, right? $70,000 a year. Here's more of the portfolio, just so you know. We're at probably 62 properties right now. 62, I think 61 or 62 properties total purchased, or right around 11,500 units, which is a total purchase price of about $2.2 billion is where we're roughly at today. And you guys will see it on the next one that I share. And the average loan to value is 67%. Now, again, I'll teach you guys more of this on another call, but to have a loan at 67% is very powerful, right, with the bank, because most people go to the bank and they try to maximize their loan. They try to get the bank to give them 80% of the loan, so they only have to come with 20% down. But, you know, when we can raise capital, when we can have a community of all of us raising capital together or investing together, we could go to the bank saying, hey, we don't need 80% loan. We actually are going to bring 33% to the table down instead of 20% to the table down. And, the average loan is 67%. When you're coming to the bank with a, average loan value like that, then they're more likely to keep giving you funds. No investor capital lost. That's always good, right? We do have a portal. So if you do become an investor, or when you do become an investor, or when you decide to raise capital with us, and we'll show you how to do that, your investors will get their own portal where they get access to everything they need, right? Every reporting every single month. Here's what the units did look like in that property. And here's what we're going to the diamond finish. Here's what they're going to be renovated to. All right. So huge difference. We're going to renovate all of them, make them all modern. That was a $24 million purchase. We raised $12.7 million total as a whole entire company, everyone together. And then that hold period is 2 to 5 years, right? With investors coming in at a 50K minimum. So that was Rise. That's Rise Mountain Ridge, just to give you guys an idea of a type of property that we invest into, right? There's 6 buildings, 154 units. It was a 1987 vintage. We try to buy only 1980s vintage or newer. That's an insurance thing, right? Insurance companies don't like insuring buildings that are built before 1980. So every decade this changes. You'll see probably next decade we'll focus on 1990 vintage and newer. So these are all different things that Tone and I, as your guys as experts, this is what we focus on, right? We make sure all of this stuff is executable for our investors. Here's what the exterior looks like. Beautiful pool, beautiful grounds. A beautiful property, by the way. Is very well maintained by the owners. Just bad management, self-managed, and not a lot there. So that was one. Let me go ahead and pull up just one more. I'm not going to go over all the details in this portfolio deal like I did on the last one. The slide deck is pretty much the exact same. I'll just go over the story of this property too as well. So this deal we just finished raising capital for. You can no longer invest into this deal. It's open, but for example purposes, you guys could take a look at it. A 263 unit multifamily portfolio. So what we did actually here is these are two different properties. We got this property here. You can see this strip. Okay. And I think there's a building right behind this bush and trees over here too. And then you got another property a few miles down the road. And both of these units or both of these properties, the way they played out, again, you guys can see 50K minimum, 7% preferred return, 85-15 split. We're targeting a 2x multiple on this property, which means if you put in 100K, I apologize, 2.0x multiple. So when you put in 100K, total return should be expected around 205,000, which is your 100K original investment back, and then 105,000 in profit, right? Let's see. One thing that I want to go over and share with you guys on this one. Here's the updated one. Nope. Yep. 2.5 billion in purchases. Again, same loan to value. So here's the story on these properties. Here's what's pretty unique. And here's how, we're finding deals and going over deals. But one of these properties specifically, this one, here's an overview of what happened. So we got Rice Chapel Hill, and then we got Rice Crown View. Okay. These are both B+ class properties in an A+ area and a B+ area. Right. And this is stuff that's important when it comes to real estate, because you don't want to buy like a B+ property in a C area, right, where there's probably a bunch of drugs, homeless people, crime rates up, things like that. So location, you hear in real estate does matter. Right. So you could find like a C class property, right, that's kind of run down in an A+ area, right? That's kind of like buy the worst building in the best area, and you could do a value add with that. But we like to stick to B class and think of school, right, and use common sense. What you hear is what you get. So we like to focus on B class because when the economy goes up, a lot of people that are getting foreclosed on their single family houses, or people that live in a single family house that lose their jobs, right? They might have a career and a salary, and they lose their jobs. Well, a lot of those people tend to move out of a house and they downsize into an apartment, right? But they still want a nice apartment. They don't want a rundown apartment, and they move into these B class properties. And so, and a lot of people that are in maybe a D class or a C class property, they get better jobs. What do? They don't necessarily jump straight into a house. They just go and move into a better property, a better apartment, B class. So B class is like that sweet spot when it comes to real estate, multifamily. Both of these properties were purchased at a 30% discount from what it was selling at 18 to 36 months ago. And I'll talk about these 30% discounts because these aren't distressed properties, right? These aren't ran down properties. What's unique about this portfolio in North Carolina is one is purchasing directly out of foreclosure, one of them. So one of them went into foreclosure, right? They bought it at the height of real estate in 2021, right? When the economy was booming, everyone was paying $100,000 per house over, 200,000 over, right? In multifamily, that's 2 million over, 5 million over, right? Because they think everything was hot. Then interest rates started to increase and they got foreclosed on. And so this one got directly purchased from the bank, right? Hey, so we got it at a discount, right? Basically just bought the loan out. And then the second one was from a distressed seller selling for a loss of capital because they were in the same boat. They were about to get foreclosed on. And better to sell at a loss than to get foreclosed on and that be on your track record, especially in multifamily, right? So what that does for our investors is that gains instant diversification across 263 units, meaning you put in 100K, most of the time we only find one property. And that 100K is based on the performance of one property. But what's nice is these are two different properties. They're under two different LLCs. And when you put in 100K, it's almost kind of split 50K into one and 50K into the other. So now you got your performance is diversified across two different properties under the same management, which is very cool, very unique. Now, significant upside to renovate 100% of these 263 units. And don't tell me why they didn't put washers and dryers in them, but we're going to put washers and dryers in 100% of the units. I will pay $100 extra for my rent to make sure I got a washer and dryer in my unit. Everywhere I've ever lived in an apartment, very first thing I ask is there a washer and dryer in my unit? Show me only units with washers and dryers in them, right? And so I'm that guy. And maybe you guys are that person too, but I will pay $100 extra to make sure that's in my unit. So don't tell me why the builders didn't just add it in there when they built these, but that's a steal. That's somewhere where we can add the washers and dryers and up the rents because of it. So that's a value add play. So these are just some of the properties. You can just see the pictures of them here. This one was built in 2010. It's very rare we're gonna buy a 2010 property or newer. It's 119 units built in 2010. So we got very blessed, I would say, with this property, brand new property, right? 2010. Normally we're trying to find value add properties that are 1980s, 1990s. But again, this was a bad loan, not a bad loan. It was a distressed loan that sold it for a loss of capital. So we got a 30% discount and an extremely low basis, right? So 130K per unit, which is very good. So that's that property. And then this other property was a 1984 B-class property. You guys can see just some of the images here. Let's see if I got more images. Here's what the interiors looks like of Rice Crown View of a classic unit. Here's what the Rice Chapel Hill looks like of a classic unit. And we're going to go with our diamond finish. This is the same finish. Real estate is a boring business, guys. But, you know, there's wealth in boring businesses. And if you can make it simple and consistent, you can build wealth over a long period of time. And so in all of our units across Arizona, Dallas, North Carolina, as of right now, this is the same flooring, you know, same sink, same lighting, same fridge, same appliances, same countertops that you will see in all the units, right? Boring business. Take a classical units like this, boom, slap this in there, raise the rents. You know, everything's brand new, everything's modern, and it's all good to go. So that was the 39.5 million. As a whole, the raise was 19.5 million on this one. So you can see we do need a lot of investors. We need a lot more investors. Let me take 19.5 million real quick and do something with you guys. I'm on my calculator right now. 19.5 million. If I divided that by $100,000, that means we would need 195 investors to come in at $100,000. And if everyone came in at 50,000, that means we would need 400 investors to come in at $50,000 to close on this property. So you guys can see we need more of our community involved, right? This is, and by getting our community involved, we're all making money together, right? So this is the power of community, is we should be making money together, not you guys watching Tone and I just make money, right? That's not what this is about. This isn't, hey, we're investing in the multifamily, guys, check this out. This is, no, hey, you're in our community, you're a part of our community, you're watching, why not invest with us? Or if you can't invest, if you're not in the position to invest with us right now, why not go find an investor to invest with us, and we'll compensate you for that, right? A finder's fee or an introduction fee. So that way, while you're learning this business with us, you could still, you know, maybe earn a finder's fee for bringing some investors to the table and learn the business along the way. Sweet. So that's it on these 2 deals. Hopefully that gives you guys a good little, just overview of the type of deals that we're looking at when it comes to multifamily real estate. Let me hop off of the screen share. Perfect. Yeah, so those are the type of deals that we're investing into. We're always investing into deals and we're always raising capital. We will not be short. One thing I wanted to touch on, guys, is I have this book. This is a goal book, right? This is my goal book. And this goal book is 90 days long, right? So there's 90 pages in here for me to complete every quarter. So every morning I wake up, I write the date, I write down all my goals. I got 18 goals on here. I write down all my goals every single day I wake up. I've been doing that for 6 years. I've been selling these books for 6 years. And inside of there, writing down my goals, it's funny because one of my goals I've been writing down, I've never been in multifamily real estate when I was writing down this goal, but it's always been a part of my vision. And it said, I am so happy and grateful now that I own 10,000 units of real estate by December 2025 or sooner. And I would write down that goal every day for 6 years. And guess what? I was never doing multifamily. I was coaching, but I would write it down and I would just write it down. And it's crazy the way, the universe works. And I call them God's pivots, right? Where life happens. And all of a sudden, writing down these goals, because when you're writing down these goals, your subconscious works on them without you having to work on them, right? Your subconscious is finding the right people to connect with, introduce yourself to, collaborate with, events to go to, masterminds to be a part of, communities to be a part of, without you having to do it because you're writing down these goals. And come 2020, 25, no coincidence, I was putting zero attention towards multifamily, and all of a sudden I had a pivot in my life happen. And the only thing that was satisfying me and piqued my interest and was perfect timing, perfect relationship, everything that was in alignment in my life was multifamily real estate. And as of September 30th, this month, or October 30th this month, when we finalized the closing of that North Carolina deal, our fund will be at 417 units. Guys, Tony and I started this in July, and we're limited partners on 417 units, right? So there's an abundance of deals out there. There's abundance of money out there. We just need to come together, right? And all agree on the same vision and goal together, right? To build wealth through multifamily real estate, educate family and friends and athletes on multifamily real estate. And that 10,000, I know we're going to hit it next year. I might not hit it by December this year, but with this momentum going in, I have the utmost confidence that 10,000 units doors will be accomplished by next year for sure.
No, it'll 1,000% be done. And just to put it in simple terms, like, we started out just like you guys, just like every single one of you guys listen to this. Come July, and when we talk about alignment, I had reached out to him, Michael, what is it that you've been up to? We haven't spoken over about a year. We were actively doing things together years past. And recently, though, I was just following up with all of the people that I've done business with and people that I would love to build this multifamily business with, because I understood that it's going to take a team. So leaving today, think about and visualize who is your guys' team, who's your guys' dream team that's going to help this vision come to reality. And so I was going out and looking and searching for my dream team and, manifesting it, writing it down, writing out lists. And I had reached out to Michael, and the alignment was, there. From the beginning, he had mentioned that he was also in the multifamily space and actively doing such. And, that's what he's full-time doing and putting his focus forth. And he had moved out to New Mexico just to full-time focus on this, and his family as well. And so when I had heard that and the vision that he had, it aligned exactly with what it is that we built. And, it's been amazing, and just synergy, at that. And so it's not just about real estate at all. As you guys can see, it's truly about reclaiming our financial power. Right? Our goal and our mission is to give you guys and provide education, provide you guys community, and help give you guys a vehicle to help you guys set up generational wealth. Right? We literally built this all from the ground up. This community, all of these deals that are being done, as he just mentioned, since July. 417 deals under management with our fund. And he went out and he did the due diligence on, and we're not just taking on anybody as a partner who we're raising capital with. And just the apartments that you guys are seeing right now is simply just the start of what it is that we're doing. And I say that to say we're not just doing business with anybody or just everybody. He went out and did due diligence and interviewed over 70 different funds. And what aligned most with us and our vision was what you guys are seeing right here and right now, and what you guys are seeing with those past 2 deals. And so we're aware that our investors are going to come in and they're getting the monthly reports. They're getting the payouts. We're able to see the payouts on the back end, right? And we're the ones paying out our investors every single month through our fund. And we're seeing that this works, that the system is proven. And so with us seeing that, now we've got our foot in the game and where we're taking it and where we're about to take off, and the things that we're about to develop and create with our fund is about to be amazing. And so this is just the start of what it is that you guys are going to see. And so this isn't just real estate. This is the locker room. It's for wealth builders. My whole life, I've won championships ever since, all throughout my youth careers, my high school careers. You know, I've always won championships. After the game, I've still been winning championships. And so this is where championships come to life. So when you guys are ready to win some championships, make sure to text 305-575-2843, the word locker room. We've got some free things for you guys as well too. We've got a free ebook. We've got a free ebook, Multifamily 101. We've got a free 15-minute phone call as well too from either me or Michael. We can get that scheduled and set up so you guys can get on a call, with the founders, right, of this company. Not any of our virtual assistants, which we can easily get you guys connected with, and many of you guys have throughout the years. But you guys are gonna be able to get access to both me and Michael on a 15-minute call, help you guys get set up, help you guys put together a plan of action, leaving that 15-minute call to where you guys can go out and ultimately come back and invest with us and build this community and this legacy with Multifamily Locker Room. And then we have something else free as well too, to where you guys can join the locker room community for a limited time for free. Right? In order to get access to this community in the future, in the near future, it's going to cost. I'm talking about the Discords, the Facebook group that we have. In order to get access to those, it is going to cost in the near future. But for a limited time, you guys will be able to get access to it for free. And if you guys do get plugged in, you guys will be grandfathered going down the road as well too, for any of our calls or our events or any of our gatherings that we will be doing in person. And so I'm super excited to continue just ultimately to provide this information. This has always been the goal and the vision with what it is that I've been doing over the years since I've stepped into the entrepreneurship space and stopped playing sports, and now that it's coming full circle and we're ultimately able to work with these athletes and people just like you guys as well, to where you guys can now be in connection with these athletes and be able to do deals with these athletes and with these artists and with these other business owners and connect people from all around the world. And now you guys can come together with your guys' idea outside of real estate, and now we can build together. We've got tons of creators. We've got tons of farmers. We've got tons of healers all around the world. And so whatever vision you guys have, we can make it come to light. And the name of the game is cash flow. And ultimately, that's what we're creating with our fund, as you guys can see. And we're going to end it out here. 417 since the month of July. And I say that all to say, if Michael, if we can do this, so can you guys. You guys just need the right information and the right people around you guys. And with such, I believe anything is possible. So thank you, Michael, for your time. Thank you all for being here. Whether you guys were here live, whether you guys were just tuned in for a little bit, or whether you guys are watching the recording, thank you all for being here. Make sure to not only like this video, but share this as well too with 3 people that you feel that this information can benefit, or those 3 people, maybe those 3 individuals that can be a part of your guys' team as you guys step into the multifamily space. So thank you, Michael. If you have any last words for them, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll end off with this. I'll see you guys next Friday for sure. We're going to be doing this, on a Friday basis. And we're going to be putting together different topics so that way you guys can know what is to come. And then we'll also put together maybe like a survey for you guys to suggest topics that you guys are interested in. so that way we could gather that information and come up with conversations to have on Fridays.
Blessings. Let's do it. Peace and love, family. Y'all see the message down below. Text 305-575-2843 and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. Till then.
Later.